Big ol' 3-9, hell yeah. My beloved, how was your vacation?
Light, thank you so much. Thank you for continuing your first class. I very much appreciate it. Thank you. Hold on, I need to... I don't have my thing up real quick. Give me 1 second. I'm back! Holy! What's happening? Yes, my thing. Sorry, I totally forgot about my thing. You know what I mean? Uh-oh, back. I also, hi, Mom. Thank you. I missed you too, as well as everyone, of course. Zeru, thank you so much for continuing your first class. I very much appreciate it. The big ol' 3-9. Can't believe it. Can't believe it. Shadow, thank you so much for continuing your first class. I very much appreciate it. Hi. Hi, everybody. How are y'all? Before I get into me, how are you? Share one thing. One thing that you think, yeah, I want to share this. In chat. To me, right now.
She's back, I missed you so much. Crying face.
Thank you, Spectre. Thank you for continuing your first... Thank you so much, Spectre. Thank you for continuing your first class. I very much appreciate it, especially with Prime. I know you only have one, so thanks for choosing me. I know, I missed you guys too. Obviously, I brought Chat Bear with me everywhere, thinking of y'all. But, oh my God. Axel, congratulations. Axel and Light, congratulations. Holy shit, that's amazing. Long process, I'm sure, but I send so much love and good luck. You finished your first ever playthrough of Paper Mario. Ooh, okay. Good game. Was it long? Got restless and chewed up one of the airline seats. Did it taste good? Gamba says still processing all out. Totally understandable. I don't know, man. Bro, the ending was insane. The needlework, literally unnecessary. It was long and good. Oh, nice. Okay, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Congratulations on finishing. I've started learning to rig VTuber. Oh, fuck yeah, Alicia. Hell yeah. I love that. Best of luck. I tried to do that once. I was like, yeah, maybe I could just, start helping myself or helping others. Until I got to watch the Brie at Cookie Box rig one eye. And I said, okay, thanks. I think that's enough for me. She made it so easy, but I saw the detail that goes behind it, and I was like, yeah, I'm only detail oriented on my resume. Okay. Thank you, Doc. I appreciate it. Thank you. So best of luck, Alicia. Thank you. The rigging looks like someone being overzealous with the voodoo doll when it's done. Yeah, honestly, it's so wild. And so I'm incredibly impressed all the time by riggers. Yeah. I'm glad all of you guys had a wonderful time. Seems like there's a couple of really great additions and starts for some of you guys. So I'm glad to hear all of that. If you hear my voice and you think, whoa, has she been using her voice a lot? Is that why it's cracking? It's not that. I now have also realized I need to talk about alcohol and the part it plays here. But I've also realized that alcohol has been affecting my voice a lot lately. So it was a family member's birthday the other day. Yeah, it was a family member's birthday the other day, and so I went hard, per usual. Alcohol will do that. Yeah, alcohol will do that. It's just it never affected it as much as it did until now, until like this past summer, right? Because I've been drinking for a while, I've been drinking for a while, and I drink pretty hard pretty often, but I think it's one of those things where you have to just accept that your body changes and grows and gets old, and you just have to accept that. It's one of those things where it's like, I used to sit crisscross applesauce and then hunch over on my bed to use my laptop, right? But like hunch over the full way where I would crisscross applesauce and then my elbows would be like on the bed. That's how hunched over I was. And I would never have any problems, right? And so, but now I'm like, dude, I'm sitting on like a fully, you know, I'm sitting on a chair, blah, 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 and I'm having problems. And then I just have to like sit here and accept that your body is not the same as it is always. So yeah, it's gonna have that raspy old timey Hollywood actor's voice. I kind of love that. I know it's not good, but I kind of love it. I kind of love my voice when it's raspy. Time does that. I hate it. Yeah, it's weird, right? Because you see people getting older, but then you like things happen to you in your body and you go, wait a minute, that's not what used to happen. What the heck? I used to like, now I'll have full days afterwards where it's not necessarily that I'm hungover, but my body is tired, right? And I'll just be like, okay, I'm gonna let myself eat and sleep and do nothing today after a hard night of drinking. I didn't have to do any of that. Even just like last year. So I'm like, this is weird. I don't like it. I'm not sure I like this shit, man. But obviously health has a big part to do with it, health and diet. And to be completely honest, I've not always been the healthiest, especially recently when I'm, you know, trying to do a lot of things before my trip, and I was kind of pushing it a lot. But yeah, I'm hoping that when I get back into, you know, eating better and exercising more, that, you know, your body will then start to heal itself and such like that. So anyways, my trip, let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about it. I was gone for almost a month now. I didn't want it to be almost a month. I wanted to get back as soon as I could, but I'm not gonna lie, doing a cross-country road trip and—
Welcome back, Lily.
Thank you, Shaman. Thank you for continuing your first class. I very much appreciate it, hon. Thank you. And thank you for the nice welcome backs. I appreciate that. Yeah, doing a cross-country road trip where you're driving like the lowest amount we drove each day was like 5 hours. And the longest amount was like 10. So, and I obviously had shifts in that, right? But you're just sitting in the car for like 10 hours. It will do a toll on your body, and possibly your physical health, or like your mental health also. I wouldn't know as much, but yeah, so I got back earlier this week and I was like, let me just give myself a rest day. And then the next rest day, hi Shady, hi hun. The next rest day, I was like, let me give myself another rest day. And then the next rest day, it was like, you know what? Maybe I'll start after the family birthday. And then I drank at the family birthday. So yesterday I had to have my quote unquote hangover day. Again, not a hangover as much. Oh, it's a physical hangover for sure though. My body was just tired. Yeah. And another one. Yeah. Did y'all take a sedan or something a little larger? We definitely took a larger than a sedan. We took a SUV, I think. I don't know enough about cars. And another one. Yeah. So when people like, I think at this point, I have to stress again, my trip, I worked, I drove, I woke up early and I slept late because we would get to the campgrounds late, or we would get to the place late, right? Because we drove majority of the day. So I did not rest. I mean, I rested mentally. I feel much better in a lot of other mental ways, but my body was like up and going all the time. And I still had work. I was still doing meetings. You know, I was like multiple meetings with different people and all that fun stuff. So when I got back, I was like, all right, now my physical health needs to rest a little bit. But I have been gone for about almost a month and I'm happy to be back. The first thing I want to say is a really great thing, right?
Welcome back.
Thank you, Shinobi. I really appreciate it. Thank you for continuing your first class, honey. Great to see you. A really great thing happening, actually. I have been granted Twitch first page. Is that what it's called? Front page. it's called front page. Sorry. I've been granted Twitch front page. Yeah. I'll be Twitch front page tomorrow. Woo, 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 woo. It'll be awesome. Excited. Perfect. That's something that was awesome that I got to hear about before I got back. Yay! Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm pretty excited. So I needed to make sure that I'm back today. But is horror game for front? Zero. Absolutely no horror games ever before ever in my life. I don't need to. I wouldn't need to, so why would I? What are we doing tomorrow? We'll see what we're doing tomorrow. I'm pretty sure. Hold on. Actually, I wrote something down, but I forgot what I had. Let me go look for it again. Oh, by the way, please retweet my going live tweet. It'll make me happy. Please do it. It's so crazy. It's almost like not being live for a month will kill your analytics or something. So please let people know. Oh, ooh, we actually have a couple of options. Funnily enough. Well, not that many options. So if you guys remember, I have I have this funny little thing, right? Where and now there's a whole conversation. We're Yaponomics today, okay? It is probably horror related. It's probably horror related, but the horror related is not a game. I'm not good with horror. I'm not good with playing horror games. I'm not good with jump scares. I'm just not good. But I love seeing the set design and all the cool things that go behind haunted mazes. I think it's incredibly skillful, and it's so cool to me how they can turn the movie.
I can't believe Shady's back.
Guess who's back? Shady's back. That's so funny, Ren. You're the only one that actually fucking noticed that that's what I was trying to do. Ren, thank you so much for continuing your first class. I very much appreciate it. Shout outs to Ren out here. 51-month streak. 50 fucking 1. Unreal. You're unreal. But yeah. And Ren is, yeah, you're right. Ren's a fucking streamer. We've been streaming and friends for like a million years now. It's amazing. Anyways. What the fuck was I saying? Yeah, so I really like haunted mazes. So what I do every year, and it's kind of like my happy place also, is I'll try to find the best content creators that go through the mazes with, like, you know, filming the mazes, so that I can do a watch along. And I'm not sure if we did that last year, but one of the years we did that as our date also. We went on a cute little maze date. And I want to talk about the fact that this year, I was like, how are there already universal TikToks? That doesn't make sense. They started August 31st for Halloween shit, all the way to November 1st. That's insane. Listen, it's just, you just know it's because they want more money. Every year they make that range larger and larger, and they're like, it's still autumn, technically. You know what I mean? It's just, you just know they want more money. A furniture store here put up the Christmas tree. All right, well, that's criminal. That's actually just criminal. Okay. Yeah, so it's been quite amazing. It's and I'm so maybe tomorrow we'll go on a little date. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? We can go on a little universal maze date. Finally, I know it's been a long time since our last date. But it's also such a, it's so funny because whenever I go on a date, I act completely differently. So watch people find me on front page tomorrow. Go in, see this like cute girl really like talking about dates and just kind of nerding out about like horror stuff, whatever. And then the next time they come in, they see me like, what the fuck, bitch? Fuck you. You know what I mean? The way that I am, naturally. Oh my god, my eye's itching. I don't know why. I slept a lot yesterday. I knocked out. Okay, wait. Before I get into my road trip, I also wanted to mention, yeah, so tomorrow I'll be on front page of Twitch. Please come by. Please come by. It'll be cool. We can go on our little date. It seems like you guys are excited or like that. Before I get started on my road trip also, let me go ahead and just talk about one other thing that I completely forgot about just now. No, I lied. I have a new love. And by love, I mean a new game that I genuinely like. Now, don't worry, Love in Deep Space is still on my heart always, and I'm still playing. I don't have any more story to go through, so I'm just trying to rack up points until the next, rack up gems until the next pool, basically. And I do all my weeklies and my dailies, don't worry. But I've recently started playing Pokemon Unite. Now, I'm a loser, all right? I don't remember Pokemon well. I played so many Pokemon games, and I still don't remember majority of the Pokemon. I only know the ones that everybody knows, okay? That said, Charizard tanks like a fucking pro. Charizard tanks so well. I'm so happy. I'm so fucking happy. Anyways, so I'm a Charizard player, for real. And I started playing just to play with friends, like Saluk plays, and you guys know me and Saluk are pretty good friends. And so I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I wanted a game to play with him that wasn't fucking Valorant and him carrying me. And so I started playing, only to realize that's probably the only MOBA ever that I'm going to be able to rank in. I literally was playing and I was like, wait, I'm kind of winning. I'm kind of popping off. I've been MVP now for like 5 games straight, and it's my first 5 games. What is happening here? Hello? Yeah, Unite. And so I was like, wait, hold on, what? So I started ranking this season. And it's going okay. I'm starting to get to this point now where I'm, starting to play against harder, obviously harder people, and my team's struggling at some point, right? But it's not impossible. I'm still like, it's challenging, but it's not like, oh, this is bad. Like, I definitely, just with time, I'm definitely going to get to Ultra. I swear to God, probably. I hope. I don't know, but it's really interesting. I like how much they give rewards out. I've been playing that, and that's been a game that I've been kind of using to like wind down at night. Okay. And so that's something that I wanted to share. Another thing I wanted to share was that I finally got my own merch from Ubu Market, which, by the way, I have merch from Ubu Market. I look amazing in them. Please check it out. But I finally got merch. Oh, besides merch from Ubu Market, I'm sponsored with Gamer Subs, and I'll tell you right now. I was gonna talk about it later, but I'll tell you right now. Gamer Subs was the only thing that fucking saved me throughout this entire trip. Not only do they have an incredible amount of flavors that I had a great time with, because your girl needed that pina colada taste while she was driving, okay? It was sad, but it wakes you up. It makes you feel great. I did not crash. I don't like, I didn't crash. I would get to the campsite and still be like, all right, you guys want to eat? You guys want to drink? What do you guys want to do? Like, I didn't go and be like, all right, I need to sleep immediately. You know what I mean? So, yeah, thank you so much, Mom. Thank you. So please check it out. I am sponsored by Gamer Subs. Not only that, I also brought their ramen with me, and I ate their ramen while drunk in one of the places. It was amazing. I have to tell you the story. I'll tell you later when we get there, but it was amazing. I also shared it with a new friend, sort of. And yeah, it was delicious. I had a great time. You know, for not being the exact same like Shin Ramyun that everybody has, it's fucking delicious. So, all right, moving on. Yeah, I finally got my merch, and I'm so happy to get my merch. Tom and Eggy, my roommate, has already taken over my t-shirt, so I'll be waiting until the winter to be wearing my sweaters and sweatpants. Yeah, so but I'm so happy to get it. I'm excited, and now I get to I have to clean my room. I have so many things just strewn about that I have to clean my room, and when I clean my room, I want to do a Lilybelle shrine for myself, obviously. Okay, yeah, there is a current deal where you get free international shipping with creator codes, which is awesome because I have a creator code. My creator code is CUMRAG, C-U-M-R-A-G. Not a joke, actually my code. Please use it. It helps me eat in general. Thank you. Right. Yes, really. So that's something I wanted to share, which is that I got my merch, and I'm happy with it, you know. We can just get into it, huh? Time to get into it. I'm nervous talking about my trip. I had a really long trip, and we went pretty much almost everywhere. We first started off, I'm from California, so we planned this, me and my friends. We went in a group. We had 2 cars, and me and my friends planned this to go to visit as many states as we could, right? So we first all went to Nevada. We did the campgrounds there. You guys saw me take a picture of Lake Mead, which, by the way, all these pictures of Chad Bear, wherever, don't worry, I'm safe. I do, for safety reasons, I upload late. I upload where I'm at late so that nobody has any chance to A, find me, and B, say, hey, let's meet up, because I had 0 time to meet up with literally anybody during this trip. The only time I had to meet up with one person, per usual, and that's because I have to be honest, I needed to take that massage, was Yasushi, because Yasushi was willing to give me a massage. Thank you, Yasushi. Big hand. Big fan. Thank you. Great to see you, Avery. Bye-bye, hon. I'm happy to see you. That's so big brain, by the way. Yeah, no, don't worry about it. I was not down to let metadata tell people where I am, okay? So we went to Nevada. It was hot as fuck. It was so hot. By the way, we were like, oh my goodness, we're gonna camp so much. Let's buy firewood here. We've got a firewood guy. Like, one of our friends had a firewood guy. So it was like super cheap to bring the firewood. Yeah, that firewood ended up being fucking dead weight the entire time. So obviously Nevada was too hot. We did not end up using the firewood because I was literally sweating. I was sweating on my sleeping mat, all right? And I woke up early. I woke up early to use the bathroom. And that was the very first time ever that I noticed, that I remembered how much I love the sky. I've always loved the sky, right? But it's just hard to remember when you wake up inside and you wake up late, you know, and you just are busy working. You do your day-to-day life and you go with the grind and you just forget. But I woke up to use the bathroom and I literally looked out and I was like, holy shit, I'm up. I'm awake. I'm not sleeping anymore, because that sunrise was like, that was really the start of this for me. It was amazing. Oh, by the way, we had steak. We made steak. I had like 6 quesadillas because while we were waiting for the steak to thaw, we just had a shit ton of quesadillas. That was like the one night that we cooked, and it was really good. But I was definitely bloated. Like, I had to take a walk after, which is something I usually don't have to do. But now I'm gonna start trying to implement that. yeah, no, the sunrise was just unbelievable out at Lake Mead. And I was so happy. As you can tell, I brought Chat Bear with me. I also brought like a family plushie, and I brought another plushie for one of my friends. So you guys know Irium. Irium has a little mascot, and one of my friends got to win that mascot as like a little plushie. So she gave it to me so that I could take pictures with her, with it. So yeah, it was really funny. Wherever I went, I had to like bring it seemed like I was like a kid almost, because I like brought out all my little pets to take pictures with, and I'm like a fucking 27-year-old girl, but that's fine. Water under the bridge. 28-year-old girl. God, I can't even remember what age I am. Water under the bridge. Anyways, so it's super hot, but you know, I woke up and I saw the sunrise and I was like, well worth it. Well fucking worth it. Watched the sunrise for like an hour. It was unbelievable. Just until it started getting really hot again, and I was like, okay, let's drive. So the next place we all drove to was Zion National Park in Utah. So that's 2 states down, Nevada and Utah. We went to Zion National Park, also incredibly hot. At Zion though, at night it did get cold for a good like 2 to 3 hours, and then I woke up to like just an incredible like heat. It got cold, so we needed to put like the wind fly over, right? But then because of that, like when it started getting hot again, the wind fly kept all the heat inside. I was like, holy shit, get this shit off of me. Okay. Took a hike in Zion National Park. You guys got to see that in like the dead of day, like 3 p.m. when it was the hottest, dumbest idea I've ever had in my life. Also, I had not like I used to hike all the time with my family. I've been to Zion National Park a few times in my life. I'm a, you know, I'm a big camper, or I grew up being a big camper, a big hiker. But I, you know, ever since I became a streamer, and once I finished college and just started getting into the workforce, it's just been a really, really long time. And especially, you know, the past month before I left for my trip, I was trying to do so much subathon goals before my trip so that, you know, I was delivering on promises that I gave you guys. And so majority of the days I literally was just waking up, sitting on my chair, and then going to sleep later, like eating and then going to sleep later. I was incredibly out of shape. So I had to stop multiple times, and it was so sad. In my mind, I was like, you are pathetic. But I had to give myself the grace where I was like, okay, it's been a long time. You know what I mean? Like it's been a while. It's freaking hot. The elevation is different. Just give yourself a little bit of grace out here, okay? So it was kind of funny. But I did it. I did the shorter hike of the 2 options, but I did it. It still ended up being like 2 hours. You know, I'm sure I lost some weight there. That day I had a meeting, so I had to go out and try to get into my meeting. Unfortunately, the area around Zion doesn't really have a lot of great service. So I ended up having to text throughout my meeting instead of being able to be in the voice call, like be able to share my voice in the voice call and turn on my mic. And I was really scared that they were going to be upset with that, but luckily I don't think they were. It just seemed like it was a short meeting. Yeah. Took a shower at Zion. It's really cool. Zion National Park, right on the outside skirts, they actually have like showers you could pay for, just shower rooms you could pay for. I forgot my shampoo, so I had to use my body wash for shampoo, and it was probably the worst thing I've ever done for my hair. I've like not bleached my hair, but I've straightened my hair, a permanent straight. I permed it straight, okay, twice in my life. And that was still the worst thing that I probably could have done to my hair, was use my body scrub for my fucking, as a shampoo, you know? Yeah, but 'twas fun, you know, got to see the stars that night. Because the other night it was like, all right, you know, we're good. First night, we all just drank and had fun. Didn't really notice the stars, but I got to see the stars going to the bathroom in the dead of night, and I just stood out there for a good like 20 minutes just staring. It was unbelievable. The next day, before we left, right? Went to a place in Utah actually, and got to try funeral potatoes. It was super, the 3-in-1 shampoo, conditioner, body wash. It's not even. It literally was just body wash. At least if it was shampoo, conditioner, body wash, I don't feel as bad. Because at least some part of that is supposed to be shampoo, right? But it was just like a body scrub. Was not good for my hair. Anyways, what was he saying? Yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of funeral potatoes, but I loved it. Funeral potatoes are, let's see. It was supposedly, I did the search and it was supposedly like a very Utah thing. And it's kind of like a potato casserole. They're called funeral potatoes because their crowd-pleasing casserole serves as a side dish at after-funeral luncheons, particularly in the culture of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Many people also call them cheesy hash browns, but they're more like cheesy potatoes with cornflake crumb toppings. Yeah, it's just like a crap ton of cheese in there. It's absolutely amazing. I was so happy that I got to try it. That was the first day I like tried like I think like a really thick barbecue meal too, and it was delicious. Really happy. Let's see. And then we drove over. My friends stayed at a I think like it's I know it's technically, no, it's hotel-ish. Like an inn, like a Hilton. What is like a Hilton Garden Inn? Is that a motel or a hotel? That's a hotel, right? It's just like a lower hotel, maybe. I don't know. My friend stayed at a Hilton Garden Inn in Colorado. I stayed with my wife, Morgana. It was amazing. It was amazing. It was a lot of fun. You guys got to see a little bit of that. I love her. We got to chat and hang out. We didn't stay up too late. I think, you know, she sleeps pretty early. Hi! Oh my gosh, hi, Guppy! Hello. Thank you so much for taking our folks on tour. Hello, tourists. My name is Lilybelle. I love to travel, but I suck at geography. And this is my first day back from like a month trip, basically. So thanks for coming by. Hi, hon. Hello. I love you too. Motels have doors that lead directly outdoors. Hotels have doors that are indoors. Okay, yeah. So it's a hotel. It's just like a lower hotel. How's your trip? My trip was fun. A lot of new things. So I forgot to mention this when I first started, but I dubbed this trip as it was a cross-country road trip, but I dubbed this trip as the trip of new things. So I went out of my way to try new things as much as I could, and you guys will hear how much new things I tried. Trust. Okay, but we were just talking about how the first few stops was Nevada, Utah. And now I'm over by Colorado. I got to go visit Morgana, one of my very favorite friends. We got to have pizza. The first time ever I had pizza with like brie cheese on it. Yeah, that pizza place that she got was like, had a lot of really weird combinations, but it was delicious. I loved it. She made burritos for me. She said, I know you're gonna miss Taco Bell, which I don't know, she says, I know you love Taco Bell, I think. So I made burritos for you, which literally helped me so much on the drive to the next place, okay? Because I'll tell you what happened after. But we got to hang out, we got to sleep. Yeah, I forgot my hat there, which makes me a little upset because I wanted to wear my hat to this, my nice little cowboy hat to the south. I'm like, thank you, Guppy. How was your stream? How's League? Did you do good? Speaking of Taco Bell, they got gelato now. Oh, you mean the gelato that's in my freezer right now? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. yeah. Don't worry, I literally got some yesterday. I won 5 out of 6. Oh, that's fire. I love that for you. I love that for you, bestie. Congratulations. Can you send me that luck when I play Pokemon Unite later? Thanks. Thank you, Mount Comey, for Fix Your Posture. Appreciate that. So yeah, it wasn't even too much. Also on the way to Mona, I was driving and I got a speeding warning. This was like my third day out here. Okay, and I was driving and the police comes behind me and I'm with the rest of my friends and I'm like, is that us? And they're like, yeah, that's you. They were like, there's no us here, buddy. This is you. Okay. And I was like, ah, shit. Okay, so I pulled over and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm on a cross-country road trip. I hadn't noticed, which, by the way, I've been told that California license plates are targeted, usually. Which isn't surprising, honestly. But also, there's a lot of changing speed limits, you know, especially with a lot of work done and stuff. I mean, I didn't notice, okay? I literally was like in this road for the longest time and I'm like, wow, even on this road and it's still like 65. Yeah, it was not a 65 speed limit. It was like a 45. He was like, yeah, I've been trailing you for a couple of miles now and you're still here. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't notice. So luckily I got a warning. And then we hung out with Morgana. And then the next morning, I pulled up my car to try and like load my shit up because I had just dropped my friends off at their place, but I was trying to load my shit up so I could go over and pick them up, right? But then I got up there, I started taking my stuff, but then I got caught trying to heat up the burritos that she had for me and heating up like the leftover pizza. I was trying to heat up stuff so that I could take it on the road, right? By the time I got down, they were like, oh my God. So that's where you guys have seen the note. True, yeah, I had fun meeting you at AX. I'm so sorry. No, you're so good. Don't worry. Don't worry. Thank you so much, Guppy. I appreciate it. I know you didn't know. Don't worry about it, honey. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. But it's so great seeing you at AX. Always, baby. Don't cry about it. Don't cry. Yeah, so I got a very, very obviously friendly note that literally was like, move your fucking car. If you're still here by the time we're back, we're calling the tow truck. So what happened was I came down and I, you know, started loading stuff up and the guy across the street was like, is this your car? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, dude, the people here, because I didn't notice that I parked just my car ass was just right into it enough where like they could have gone out, but it was really hard. Like it was kind of blocking their driveway, but I hadn't noticed. And I was out there for another like what, 20 minutes because of all the food. Hold on. Okay, I got it. Sorry. Yeah. So I come down and I guess they must have seen my car literally like right after I had like parked it there. But then they came out and they were like cussing at me. They were like, do you live here? What's wrong with you? Like we called the tow truck, blah, blah, blah. They were like angry. So I was trying to say goodbye to Mona. I like didn't even bother saying goodbye to Mona, really. I was like, we were supposed to say goodbye, but I was like, okay, bye. Okay, bye. And I like got on and I like tried to drive off as soon as possible because I did not want a tow truck to get here. They were like, do you live here? Blah, 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 all these other shit, right? And Mona at that time already like went back inside because it was like an apartment complex kind of area. I picked up my friends and I drove a little before I saw the note. So I took a stop and I like pulled out the note and I was like, what a great note to get from Colorado. Like this is gonna be forever here now. But it literally says move the fucking car, we call the tow truck or something like that. It was so funny. Bye, have a good one, Guppy. Thank you. Bye. Yeah, I felt kind of bad. This reminds me of the time I got a zip code wrong on a road trip and almost got oh shit. I'm glad you're okay. Good God. So we drove. That night, we were supposed to stay in Nebraska. I don't remember why I remember why now. We realized that if we got to Nebraska, we put up the tent and we stayed. By the time we wake up tomorrow, start packing up the tent and everything and driving to the next place, which was Chicago. We would be getting to Chicago at like 7 or 8. We'll miss out on like a full day of Chicago. We were in Chicago for a couple days, but like a lot of my friends were really excited about Chicago because some of them had gone and like didn't get to see the city, and then some of them just really wanted to see the city. So we called each other up and we were like, how are you feeling? This is when you when you're on a road trip and with your friends, and the other car calls you and says, "How are you feeling?" There's only so few things that they could be asking for, right? So my friend said, "I'm feeling fine." Why? And I was like, "You're not like sleepy or something? You tired? You know?" Also, I used to go on road trips with my family a lot. My poor father was the only person driving, so we never did this. But my family and I are very spontaneous people. Because all of us are artists, we were always very willing to be spontaneous. My parents, you know, they work for themselves. So let's say on a road trip from, I don't know, like Texas, right? You would get to a certain like part where they split off into freeways, and one way will take you back over to, well, you know, the route that you were probably on, and one freeway could take you straight over to Vegas. And my dad would joke around and be like, "Haha, want to go to Vegas?" And my mom be like, "Haha, yeah, bet." And if we didn't have school, it didn't even matter. Well, our opinions mattered very little, me and my brothers. And my dad would look back at the rest of us and be like, "Nah, seriously, it's just a little, like, a freeway change away, okay?" And my mom was like, "Yeah, bet, do it then." "Do it then, bro." And then sooner or later, you find my dad calling his clients and going, "Yeah, I'm gonna move our appointment back by like 3 days, okay?" And my mom will call all her clients and be like, "Yeah, no, there's some shit on the freeway. I think I'm gonna get back late." And then we'd spend like 2 days in Vegas spontaneously, just out of nowhere. They're very much spontaneous people. And I grew up doing that, so I love spontaneous people, and I love doing spontaneity things. And I'm trying to get back into that, because once you get to like not necessarily this age or where I'm at in my life, like, I'm realizing that the last few years I have not been doing anything that I usually would be doing, or I haven't been myself, kind of stuff. So I'm trying to get back into that. Anyways, all this to say, I call up my friend and I'm like, "How you feeling?" And he's like, "Well, fine." "Why?" I'm like, "Hey, you sleepy? You tired?" And he's like, "Not necessarily." I was like, "You had a couple of drivers in your car too, right?" Because we all have shifts, right? It was like a few of us that didn't drive, and then a few of us that were like, "Yeah, we'll continue to hand off." Thank you, Mitsuki. Thank you. And so it would be, he was like, "Yeah, why? You wanna get to Chicago?" And I was like, or no, he didn't even ask that. I had to go. I had to be like, so this is the dilemma. The dilemma is we get to Nebraska, we unpack, we sleep, we pack, and then we go. We'll get to Chicago at like 7 or 8. And so he's like, trying to get to Chicago sooner. I was like, "How likely are you okay with driving over the night?" And I was like, "All right." This is the energy that people need, because very luckily, my other friends that were drivers were like, "Okay, bet." Obviously, the ones that weren't driving, fuck you guys. Y'all don't even go sleep in the back. All right. But all of them were like, "Okay, bet." So we drove. We fucking drove all night long. It was the first of the trip, but not last of the trip, okay? Of driving overnight. We drove overnight. We got to Chicago so early that the Travelodge we were staying at did not allow us to check in yet without it. Like, they didn't even have rooms available yet. And then later on, they would have like made us check in like early with like the cost of checking in early. You know what I mean? Damn, gonna need some subs for that one. Yeah, we absolutely did. By the way, like I said, I brought my gamer subs. I brought thigh milk and a bunch of the other samples. Also, Morgana, so beautiful of her, had actually packed me extra little Ziplocs of gamer subs. Bro, all of us were hot. We were good. We were going. And then we got, you know what I mean? It was fire. By the way, !GS, I am sponsored with gamer subs, but I don't need to, how do I say this? How do I say this nicely? I don't get enough from Gamer Subs to lie about their product and be sponsored. I asked to be sponsored with Gamer Subs because I like their product. So I'm being honest here. Yes, check it out. Okay, Sarah, don't say it like that. God. I once put my dad on the course to Vegas. Fire, Comey. Exactly, you know? Axel says I don't get any money from them and I shill them. That's funny as hell. Yeah, we shill them because we like them. So we get to Chicago. We're too early. And just a reminder, we've driven throughout the night here. And so a lot of us at this point actually are tired, okay? Like, we're just, like, our body is like, okay, I need a bed, you know? Like, I've been sitting for probably 12 hours plus. I don't even remember, all right? And so, but we couldn't check in yet. And so we all just kind of sat around waiting. And I was like, well, what if there's like a bar somewhere? Like, you guys want to go to the bar? And they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you, girl? It's like 8 a.m. I'm like, yeah, but we're not really doing anything else. Or it was like 9 a.m. Like when the bars when literally like bar/restaurants just opened, right? But I was like, we're not really doing anything else. And like, if I just sit here, I'm gonna end up falling asleep here. So you guys wanna go to the bar? A couple of them stayed just sitting inside of the hotel. But the real ones, shout out to the real ones, y'all know, which was literally like 2 other people, went out to the bar with me. It was great. It was awesome. So my first experience in Chicago was going to the fucking bar. Classic, okay? What else? 1 to 3 p.m. check-ins should be criminalized and 10 a.m. checkouts. Yes, we should just all be able to sleep more and get in more. Yeah, so 9 a.m. bar. I went hard immediately. I went for the whiskey. I had an old-fashioned first drink at a bar of my trip, because the other nights was just like drinks, like White Claws that we had in the cooler and like other liquor that people had just brought, you know what I mean? But I had an old-fashioned, there you go. And I had a second drink also, because I do not like it when my friends drink slow and I'm just sitting there with an empty glass. So I always double drink when people drink slow. We finally get in, okay? I take a shower. I get all dolled up and nice, as if I get all dolled up and nice because I'm like, great, now we have extra time in Chicago. You know what I mean? Let's go out, let's chill. I mean, I'm kind of tired, but like, whatever. I go outside and the people that I'm sharing my room with, my girls I'm sharing the room with, are all fucking napping. They're like, you can tell like they didn't mean to nap. Like they're all dressed, but they like just, it's one of those things where you lay down and you're like, I'm just gonna rest my eyes for a little bit, and then they fall asleep. And I'm like, holy shit. Well, I know that everybody's tired, so I'm not gonna just like wake them up. But I turn on the TV and I turn on The Simpsons, which I've never watched ever before in my life otherwise. But I turn on The Simpsons, and I like put my back against like the pillows and the headboard, and then I sink into it a little, and then I fall asleep. Good shit. We woke up about like an hour and a half later. Still got like some sleep in, and still got to have more hours in Chicago than we would have if we stayed in Nebraska. Okay, so at that point, called the guys up and be like, okay, let's head out. Went out, had deep dish pizza, Lombardi's, I think. Absolutely fucking delicious. They also had this like spinach bread thing that they had, spinach cheese inside like bread and shit. Unbelievable. So fucking good. No, it's not called Lombardi's. It's called something else. It's Illuminati's. Lou Malnati's. And I remember because in my brain I was like, Illuminati. Yeah, so went there. Ate, had an amazing time eating, and then trying to remember like literally anything else that I did. Yeah, I think after that we were like, okay, let's just like walk. I think we walked a little bit. Yeah, I think we walked a little bit and then we kind of just called it a night, so that we could wake up earlier the next day. Now the next day I had work immediately. Oh, I remember that night I had a meeting, that's why. So we called it a night early because I had a meeting, and then I was like, all right, that's totally fine, let's just wake up early. And then we woke up early the next day. If you're in Chicago and you have work to do and you just happen to be in the area, go to the Chicago, I think it's like the Chicago Basketball Club or something. What is it called? In one of the hotels, there's it's called like a Chicago something club, and in one of the it's in one of the hotels, but it's like a super big place that has drinks, but it's like it looks just like an old library, you know, and you could just go in there and sit and do your work almost like it was a coffee shop, and it's like the second floor of one of the hotels. The friend that like went there before had shown it to me, and I was like, oh, that's perfect, because I wanted to do all my work. I did a shit ton of work that day, and I still got my drink. But it's your company for letting you just call in for meetings? Yeah, no, I can't do work. I can't do work meetings. I can't do workplaces that need me to go all the time anymore. And I know that sounds really spoiled of me, but I genuinely do not believe that is good for my brain. And I'm not surprised, because neither one of my parents, you know, or any of my family members have really ever stayed at a job where they had to do that. And I'm like, that makes sense. It's in the genetics, I guess. Raceland, hi, good to see you, hun. Anyways, so I do work. While I'm doing work, I have 3 espresso martinis. Good shit. I play pool with one of my friends who like came by after, because she just wanted to like hang out. And so I was like, yeah, I'm almost done with work anyway. We play pool. We have a drink. I suck at pool, but I won one. I won one from technicality, because she got the 8-ball in, and I was like, hey, that's fine. And then she won the next one with me having like 2 or 3 balls left, so it's not the worst, okay? I promise, it's not the worst. And then we all just went out on the town, you know. We got to go, I don't even remember what the fuck we ate. Oh, I lied. The very first day, we also ate at, oh, also, I had a raging pimple this entire trip. It made me so pissed off. But anyways, we got a Chicago dog, okay? The second night, I told one of my other friends, one of the other VTubers I know, who I was like, hey, by the way, I'm in Chicago. And they're like, and I was like, yeah, I just got pizza. And they're like, did you do the tourist thing? Did you get deep dish? And I was like, well, yes, because you guys are known for a really good deep dish pizza. And they're like, oh, wow. I'm like, okay. They're like, you gotta get it the right way, the Chicago style. And I was like, okay. Bitches, you fucking bitches. Chicago style is literally tavern style pizza. It's tavern style fucking pizza. It's just incredibly thin crust fucking pizza. Everybody has tavern style pizza. You guys are not the only place to have a tavern with tavern style pizza. That's not... Okay, so then I found out Chicago just likes to call the deep dish pizza the tourist thing just to make fun of tourists. Chicago has a very specific, interesting culture, okay? Yeah, they just are really gung-ho about each other. You know how New Yorkers are always like, yeah, I'm a New Yorker, whatever. Like, Chicagoans also have that, but they have less things to be interested at, like interesting for. I'm telling you right now, if you're from Chicago, I agree. That's what I'm saying, all right? Chicago accents are subtle. I'm not even talking about the accent. I'm just saying that Chicagoans, they always have this like, yeah, like I'm Chicago, you know, blah. But like they have less things to be more interesting about. Which, by the way, somebody said you went to Chicago and didn't get shot. You're lucky. Not true. Chicago is less dangerous and cleaner than LA and New York. I've been to a lot of downtowns in my life. I've been to many downtowns in Asia. All right. And the jungle Asias. And I can say that because I'm a jungle Asian. Chi-towners, they're called chicas. Yeah. Depends where you go in Chicago. That's anywhere. That's fucking anywhere. Depends where you go in fucking buttfuck Minnesota, okay? You could also get shot. It means nothing. None of that. Like, it's about your downtown is cleaner and nicer. I've met way nicer people there than almost literally anywhere in my life. Besides Japan. That's a whole other subject. Chicago's a nice place to live. I would fucking live there, all right? And I had a dislike for Chicago before going there due to, you know, something with my ex and yada, yada, yada. What in the heck is a jungle Asian? This girl stepping out of Jumanji. Jungle Asians are really just ways to say Southeast Asians because we have a lot of vegetation in our countries. Why do you say Chicago like that? Chicago. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying Chicago like. I say it like that because I say it like that, Axel. What do you mean? Also, Chicago's not a real place. We drove out to go to this one specific hot dog stand, Gene and Jude's. Captain Krabs, you might know. I say Chicago. Okay. You and I were born in completely different areas of the United States, Axel. So that's why you say Chicago and I say Chicago. Lane says Chicago. I have no idea why. Yeah, but like, believe it or not, no, it's definitely a regional thing. It's almost like the South has an accent. It's almost because they were born in the South. Can you believe that shit? Wild. Anyways, what the fuck was I saying? Anyways, yeah, we went out. Half of the area around the Chicago downtown looks incredibly decrepit, and then the other half looks decent, like nice, like you would see it in a movie. And it's really weird. The decrepit ones literally look fucking haunted and abandoned. Literally a whole half. And they're intermingled together. Chicago's not a real fucking place, dude. Seriously. Anyways, I enjoyed my time. I got to go got to go to one of the oldest jazz clubs, the Green Room, I think. Got to have, oh my god, it's, dude, all the food. I basically had a shit ton of like Chicago food, right? Because you got the Chicago dogs. I had another Chicago dog when I went to go get I can't remember what that's called. It's beef. It's a beef sandwich. What is it, Captain Krabs? And then I had that night we also went to like one of the older bars and we had the tavern style pizza, which was delicious, but again, tavern style. Whatever. And then the deep dish one. Chopped cheese. Italian beef or a Philly cheese. Well, I'm not a Philly cheesesteak because I got that in Philly. I think it was a chopped. Maybe it was Italian beef. One of them. I think it was Italian beef. Yeah, maybe. Anyways, also learned about, not French tip, learned about old style beer. Loved it. Loved the old style beer. And after we went, I came home and I drank basically almost the rest of the whiskey, and got incredibly intoxicated and called my parents, and told them that I like Chicago and shit like that. It's cool. Yeah, it was Italian beef. It was juicy. Thank you, Kay. Hi, honey. So good to see you. How are you? Am I gonna see you soon? Am I seeing you like soon? Like two weeks soon? Yes, I am. I can't wait. I can't wait. Okay, you're the best. I want to hug you. Thank you. Congratulations on opening your tequila. Did you see anything related to Al Capone? Yeah. I didn't go to any specific Al Capone places, but it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, we were one of the oldest bars. You know, Al Capone used to come here. I'd be like, okay, yeah, it's kind of like that. You know what I mean? Lily party sounds insane. Lily party, I don't know. A couple, maybe Lily party's fine, right? Lily party is not that insane. I'm so in, you know, I've never done suspicious party things ever in my life. Okay, alrighty. It's true. They go hard. They go hard. I go hard. I've got a sicko thing, all right? Anyways, I call my mom. This is the kind of drunk I am. Hey! So what I'm hearing is, Kay, if we don't link up at TwitchCon, then you're just straight lying, okay? Please, let's link up. I love you. Anyways. The fuck else am I saying? Yeah, tried old style. I called my parents. When I'm drunk, I'm a very nice, happy drunk. Very nice, happy, touchy drunk. Be careful. And by touchy, it's not like I'm trying to be very, like, creepy. By touchy, I just mean I might not understand your circle of air and just push me back a little. It's totally fine. Okay? Can confirm all three. Okay, Mitsuki. She slapped me at AX. Oh my god, did I? Did I? No. Oh, okay, because... Oh, good. She slapped me at Alkai? You were joking. Okay, I did slap some people at AX. I talked them into letting me slap them. It was great. But a whole other thing. Kay, I did slap you at Alkai. Thank you so much. My hand still can still feel how wonderful your face feels. Yeah. And then the next morning, both of my arms got numb. And I was incredibly concerned, and I looked up alcoholic neuropathy. I drank a lot of water. I'm not gonna go too far into that, all right? But I drank a lot of water, and I made sure to, you know, take care of myself. I went less hard, though, that day, okay? And I was fine by the next day, luckily. All right, but maybe I shouldn't go. Maybe I should leave the getting hard to just specific occasions. All right, not so much, you know, like when I'm home or something. Yeah, I can't even remember majority of the time. Majority of the other things. I spent a lot of time working. I remember, but I didn't hate it because working in Chicago was kind of nice. Saw fireworks in Chicago. Oh yeah, by the way, this entire time, all of that, I was in Chicago. It was during the DNC. So me and Kamala Harris literally just started making out. Just kidding. I'm kidding. It was during the DNC, and so a lot of places that I wanted to go to by the end of the night were closed for political parties. Is it not enough for you guys to control my government? Now you have to take over my bars? Huh? So I went back to a couple of the other same bars. Yeah. It's fine though. Old style was fire. Was pretty sad to leave Chicago, not gonna lie. Oh yeah, one of my guy friends talked me into biking in Chicago down the Chicago River, like just the side of it. All right. It sucked. Not because the Chicago River is not beautiful, not because I hate biking all the time. I'm not a big fan of biking. I'm not a big biking person. But it was so hot even with the wind blowing in you, and it's the Windy City, okay? The sun was just beating down on you, okay? While biking. And I was just like, man, I got pretty today. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Don't ever let me hang out with you ever again. I steered clear of him the entire rest of the trip. Just kidding. We went to the museum. All of us went to the museum. That was a lot of fun. Got to see my Boeing 747. Really, really awesome. Had a good time there. And yeah, it was a good time in Chicago. I feel like we ate way too much, right? Almost got to try a Nando's. Nando's was fucking delicious. Good shit. I don't know what Orlando, Florida is, but I have this weird feeling that I should mention it. That's so crazy. Well, you're about to find out. I'm just kidding. You're not gonna find out. Yeah, I actually did get a little cheeky Nando's. No, it was delicious. I was like, damn, no wonder y'all talk about, no wonder people meme about that shit, man. But I basically ate way too much in Chicago. That was the beginning of the end of all of my, like, my terrible diet this entire trip, okay? By the way, I thought that I was gonna lose weight this trip because majority of the time we were supposed to be camping and, like, hiking. I was like, nice. Yeah, it did not happen. We left Chicago. And we did the fucking thing again. Trip was fucking gas, dude. Unreal. They have Nando's in the US. I thought it was just a British chain. Yeah, no, I didn't know either. And I looked it up to see if it was the right one. And it was. There was just one in Chicago, in downtown Chicago. Oh, I also forgot. Went on the Chicago architectural, like, boat tour. Of course, Chicago architecture is unbelievable, absolutely gorgeous. Got to have that beautiful skyline picture that I shared of Chat Bear out there. Yeah, and then we did the fucking thing again because we all realize that because we were only in New York for like a day. We all realized that we were only going to be able to be in New York for one day. We did not go to Anime NYC, by the way. We were just in there for a day. To say, like, we were in New York, because we couldn't stay any longer. We were there for a day. And we did the thing because we were like, damn, we're going to end up getting to New York late if we stay. So we skipped Pennsylvania. Which was fine, because on the way back, we got to try what we wanted from Pennsylvania, which was a Philly cheesesteak. Totally fine. So got to New York, got to hang out with people, walk around New York a little bit. Some of the other first-time New Yorkers. I wasn't a first-time New Yorker. I spent majority of my time just working then. I also almost got it in with one of my friends because I have to work. And my friend was like, and I've been to New York before, so it's totally, like, I'm okay with missing out on it. I already did all the tourist shit. And they were gonna go do the tourist shit. And she was like, don't you wanna go see New York? You're like, you're in New York. And I'm like, yeah, I'm in New York. So what? This is not my first time going, and it won't be my last. We went to the Museum of Sex also, though. Good place, fun place. Like, so what? I have work to do, you know? Like, I've got deadlines and shit. And she kind of like seemed like she kind of got peeved about it. You know what I mean? She was like, I don't know. You could just tell she was a little bothered. And I'm just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you go. I don't need to go. You fucking go. You know, I've got shit to do. I've already been to New York. You know, there's nothing about New York that I can't see or smell from the safety of my hotel. Okay, don't worry about it. Got a chopped cheese, got bacon, egg, and cheese bagel. Bento, thank you so much for continuing your first class, sweetheart. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. So that was just kind of a little weird. Got to see a couple of friends. Definitely drank. Literally just 2 days after I was like, man, I should watch my drinking. Went hard again, per usual. Got to see a beautiful sunrise in New York. Left, passed by Pennsylvania, got myself a good Philly cheesesteak. By the way, throughout this trip, I got to try Culver's and Whataburgers. I have Shake Shack by Shake Shack where I am, so I didn't have to try that. But I have tried Shake Shack in New York before. Don't worry. Yeah. Did you end up going to any place I mentioned? I'm sorry, I did not end up being able to go there. For me, it was like, if your hotel smells like New York streets, that might be a problem. If anything smells like New York streets, it's a fucking problem. New York streets is the smelliest. And I've went to, again, butt fuck everywhere. I went to I've literally gone to Southeast Asia and gotten lost where people pee on the side of the fucking road. Okay? And it still smells better than New York. But I will give it this. New Yorkers, right? New Yorkians, whatever. They also have a camaraderie. And it's a very interesting thing because I was having this full podcast moment with my friend because she was like, you know, it's so interesting that like LA and New York are similar in some and not similar in some, right? And I was like, yeah. But I have like these theories. My theory is New York people are so different. All of them come from such different lifestyles, places of life, and you know, everything, ethnicity, classes, and they're all jumbled up in one actual melting pot that they naturally have this human need and tendency to have some sort of camaraderie. So New Yorkers really like to, like, yeah, we help other New Yorkers out type of shit. In LA, we don't really feel that. But at the end of the day, it's because LAers are all so similar that they try their best to be different. All of them go, and as somebody born and raised in LA, I get it, you know? Like, of course there's always a different LA culture, but a lot of LA happens to be expats, you know, who come to LA. They all want to be, especially if you like live around there too, sometimes you kind of just get worked up into the artistry, into the acting, the writing, the directing, the whatever, you know? And everybody wants to do that. Everybody wants this little piece of like type of Hollywood LA pie, right? So they try their best to just one up each other. And that's why they always try to be so different, even though they really technically are all just the same.
Lily, I need you to understand that scene in Spider-Man where all the people on the train are like, you need to get through us first. That would 100% happen in real life. New York just be like that.
Yeah, I know. I know that, Axel. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that, like, I know that New Yorkers are kind of like that, you know? So we were just kind of talking about it. Like, you saw like it girls wearing athleisure with tiny little dogs, literally just like the same streets passing by, you know, like homeless people hanging out. I don't know. It's really interesting. It was really, yes, I'm confirming. I'm agreeing that you are confirming. Yeah. So that's something we did. Here, let me pull your tarot card. I bought my tarot card out for a party and I didn't end up actually using it, which was fine. I did not yell bada bing bada boom, but I had bacon, egg, and cheese. I had an I'm walking here moment. Literally, the walk sign was on, and as I was walking, the car literally stops right on my side, and I legit just turned and was like, I'm walking here. I obviously didn't say that loud because I didn't want to get shot, but I did do it. Let's see. Alrighty. A general card for Leighton. Let's go. I should do my own cards in a bit. Okay. Oh, the High Priestess in reverse. Nice. Hold on, hold on. High Priestess in reverse. Repression of intuition, unwanted attention, uncontrolled outbursts, and sexual attention. Lack of self-belief, block psychic powers. So it kind of just seems like your intuition is trying to guide you and your instincts are correct, but you're really not hearing it, and you may be more focused on opinions of others or winning other people's approval than your own. It can also indicate that you're neglecting your own needs to take care of others instead, and you need to take the time to connect with yourself and listen to your inner voice more. Trust in yourself. Yeah. There you go, sweetheart. All right. Afterwards, let's see. We did the thing again. Oh man, talking about West Virginia. Talking about West Virginia. Jesus Christ, West Virginia. So throughout this entire trip, we had not felt unsafe literally anywhere but West Virginia. It's just my life. And maybe you need to change that then. You need to take care of yourself more, Layton. At first, I thought it was just a joke. Okay, it was like, oh, I was looking up stuff to do in West Virginia and there was absolutely nothing except visit abandoned, definitely haunted places. Yeah. It did not turn out to be such a joke very, very long. We got to West Virginia. Yes, we got there really late, but you know what? It was one of those places where apparently the guy who booked it said like, oh, it was a nicer campground, we should go. Yeah, we got there. It was not it was a nicer campground, but he did not book the right thing for us. He did not book the right space for us. And so there was a porta potty. So everybody's already kind of like, okay, I guess there's a porta potty. He was not having it though. He was like, fuck, like, I really don't want to like do that. Plus it was already so late, you know. Then our next stop was Kentucky, which we did spend a lot of time in because of the Bourbon Trail. Yes, God bless my friends also drink. We did not go to fucking Biscuit World, okay? We didn't even, anyways, we decided, because then everybody was kind of like looking around. It was already like really, really dark. You know, we had to all have our headlamps out and we were like, man, like low key setting up camp is gonna be pretty hard right now, you know? And then like we only have a few hours before we like should wake up so we can get to Kentucky. Oh, blah. We did it again. We did it again. We all got back up on the car and we went. Now, West Virginia, yeah, there's a lot of just forestry, long stretches of road with nothing, not even street lights on the sides, nothing but forestry. All right. And we started noticing really weird things, which is just random people walking in the middle of the road where there are no lights and just long stretches of road. Like you're probably not going to get to wherever you're trying to get within the next like 20-minute walk. You know what I mean? A lot of weird walker people. Hi, Hydro. It's just like, okay, that's crazy. It's one of those things where I was like, wow, I can't believe like some people can do that. You know what I mean?
I'm awake, Wike Doko.
Wike? Hi, hello. Good morning, sweetheart. And thank you so much for continuing your first class. I very much appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I trust. I was like, I was taking my like nap and my like, you know, because I wasn't driving. And I was taking my nap and my friend was literally like, dude, there's so many people walking. I'm like, are you sure they're people? Because, you know, this place is pretty well known for skinwalker territory. And they're like, no, it's people. And I'm like, that's creepier. Maybe I would have rather known that it was fucking skinwalkers than knowing it's straight up people. That just means they're alive and they're weird. We stopped by a gas station, right, to get more gas before we start heading back over to Kentucky. Oh, also, by the way, before we got to New York, there was a place, I think, in Pennsylvania, where we did stop for the night because I had to do a meeting. And we went to a local bar that was super sick. They had a special that night for Miller Lite for $1.50. we had a great time, by the way. We also had to do laundry, so we were waiting for the laundromat. It was so cute. It was some of my friends like first times using a laundromat, and I was like, wow, you spoiled sons of bitches, but okay. It was kind of adorable. I did my meeting, and then afterwards, like, we ate. I had pierogies and fried frog legs, and I was like, hell yeah, because I've eaten both of those things, but like, you rarely ever, you don't get that shit in California. So it was fire. Loved it. Anyways, yeah, so we're driving. We stopped by in West Virginia. We stopped at a gas station, and so this gas station, it has its lights, and there's a car closer to the side of the road, but it's at the gas pump that's like on the outside, right? And so we pull up on the inside gas pumps. Okay, we pull up on the inside gas pumps next to the store. And before we could even get out, the car that was literally parked already at the outside gas pump comes around and parks right by us. Right by us. And I wasn't noticing because I wasn't driving, right? But literally my other friend from the other car calls and is like, bro, that's fucking suspicious. And my driver was like, well, what's up? And he was like, dude, that car literally was just sitting right outside on the other side. Why the fuck is he behind us now? I do not feel safe. And we're like, okay, that's fine. Let's just go to the next gas station. It's no biggie. You know, we still have enough to go to the next gas station. Thank you, Unicorn. I appreciate it. Hi, honey. We go. We leave that gas station. And lo and behold, suddenly that car doesn't want to get gas at all anymore because it fucking follows us and leaves. I was like, because I didn't notice. I was literally just waking up from a fucking nap. I was gonna go fucking use a restroom at the gas station, okay? And so when that happened, I like, when you know, we were saying, well, that's kind of weird. I like turned around and I was the one that was like, oh my God, it's following us. It literally followed us while we left and we were like, dude, both of us went super, super slow, right? We like went way under because we were staying on the phone the entire time. We both went super slow just to see what would happen. And luckily, I think the other car just knew that we knew and drove past us. But I'm dead. I'm not joking. I believe dead serious. Did you have anyone with you carrying? No, we did not. I think we all did discuss whether or not we would, and it just didn't, yeah. Was it a black car, unmarked police? Nah, I doubt it. I fucking doubt it. I doubt it with all my entire whole fucking ussy, bro. I doubt it. Next time you go in Mid-East, always have someone carrying. Yeah, a lot of us have, all of us, or not all of us, a lot of us have arms, but we don't have concealed carry. And it was one of those things where it was like, well, we don't have concealed carry, so we would have already had to go out, unlock in the trunk, you know, blah, 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 blah. But I guess we didn't really notice that, you know, there's always different laws in other states, but it doesn't matter. I think it knew that we knew, so it left, right? I'm dead serious. It's not a unmarked police car. It definitely, you can even tell what an unmarked police car looks like, because we saw a couple too, you know what I mean? We were on the phone and I was like, for sure, guys, have we walked out of our doors and started like pumping gas, we would have gotten robbed for sure. Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, Marge. I think it's just we didn't really know, but so that was two weird ass things that happened. And then we got to the next gas station. We opened the doors and the gas pumps were literally covered in spider webs and like a million spiders. Almost like nobody had ever used it. Had its lice, but almost like nobody had ever used that had used that gas pump in decades. We were like, what is this place? For real. For fucking real, what is this place? Oh, by the way, all these stores didn't have people in them. They did not fucking look like they had people in them at all. So we were like, nope, back on. That's 2 places in West Virginia, like 2 gas stations in West Virginia where we're like, nah, no way anymore. So we went to a truck stop because we were like, okay, at least there's trucks here, bro. Because that's it. I don't fucking trust this shit. Y'all had spare gas with you during the trip? No. But we're pretty careful. Yeah. I mean, I didn't. I don't know if the other car did. Yeah. So it was West Virginia. Y'all fucking weird. Y'all fucking, if you live in West Virginia, bro, you're a skinwalker. If you aren't, you will be. Okay? Because what the fuck? Anyways, we get to Kentucky early, which means we have time, which means we went to Colonel Sanders Museum and Cafe, which is where Colonel Sanders first opened with his fried chicken recipe. We bought souvenirs. We had KFC there. It was not better than other KFCs, okay? But it was just a feeling of being there and seeing all the Colonel Sanders memorabilia, you know, and his like little motel room. I won't go into it too much, but Colonel Sanders used to own a motel that was attached to his cafe. And he put like a sample motel room, right? Inside the restaurant, in the middle of the restaurant, and made sure that women had to go through it to go to the women's restroom so that the women could come out and be like, wow, this is a clean motel room. Hey guys, maybe we should stay here. Yeah. Anyways, after that, we drove. We couldn't check into our Airbnb yet, so we drove and we checked by to see if maybe we could go to one of the other bourbon places. So we went to Buffalo Trace and we were able to snag a tour, so that was great. It's so hot. This entire second half now is going to be, because the first half was hot but dry, and this is hot but humid. All right, I'm not bothering even wearing any kind of makeup in any of these fucking days. I'm not even bothering to do my hair in any of these days. I'm wearing jack shit. All right, I'm not looking good at all because I don't need to, and I won't. Even if I dressed up pretty, it won't stay pretty. We go and we buy a couple of souvenirs. We got to drink bourbon. The coolest part about going to bourbon places was that the minute that you get to, yeah, if you guys don't know, Kentucky is basically just the Napa Valley, but for bourbon instead of wine. So the Bourbon Trail is literally just an entire whole like circle of bourbon distilleries in Kentucky. That's just where everybody is. You just smell sourdough bread the minute that you get there. It's quite amazing. I got hungry real quick. Thank you. I'll talk about that later, actually, Zero. Yeah. We finally check in, and at this point now we're like, all right, it's the second half. We need to start offloading a lot of this stuff in the car. Everything's kind of messy. There's too much shit. So we decided to just cook like cup noodle and stuff like that and try to like reorganize stuff. And it was amazing because me and my friend, I have two other friends who are into Hololive. So we made cup noodle, and then while the other friends were organizing, we ate our cup noodle and watched Hololive Among Us subtitled. Good shit. The next day, it was all about bourbon. Had more bourbon. Went out. This is where, I just remembered. This is where I started mirroring. I do a lot of accent mirroring. It's one of those things where it's like if you stay next to somebody with a British accent too much, you start speaking with a British accent even though you're not trying to. And it's not the best because it's not the best. I started doing my southern mirroring, right? Which is talking with a slight of a southern accent. I'm not gonna talk about it too much because I don't want to start offending nobody. But I did, you know, I did live in Florida for a little bit, so I get it. Anyways, I started going around talking with a little bit more of the drawl, I felt like. And I had Kentucky iced tea, which was nice, which is literally just bourbon and sweet tea, or bourbon and iced tea. That shit tasted good. We just had a really nice, you know, home cooked meal, tap restaurants. We went out to a bar. Luckily enough, it was like a Wednesday night, and that bar had half off pours on Wednesday nights. We just drank and ate, nothing crazy. Our Airbnb had a lot of cats, a lot of stray cats. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a good time. Stayed there a couple of days, not too long, not as long as we stayed in Chicago at least. And we went over, we started going over to Memphis. And this is where shit gets crazy for me, right? Because I went to Memphis, and obviously everybody still has an accent. Hi X, how you doing, hon? Great to see you, thank you. We passed by Nashville, and we went to this one place called Mornell's, and it was delicious. It was literally just beautiful, delicious Southern home cooking. And it was one of those places that like was served family style, where everybody sat next to each other, even strangers, and you just grab a plate, you grab whatever you need, and then you pass it to the left. Mac and cheese was unbelievable, and the fried chicken was to die for. It was the first place I think ever that I wanted to eat coleslaw. Yeah, I'm talking about Tennessee. Now I'm talking about Tennessee. I was just talking about Kentucky, but now I'm talking about Tennessee. Yeah. So we had Nashville. We ate Nashville for lunch, and then we got to Memphis. And the first thing that we visited in Memphis was the Bass Pro Shops Pyramid. The Bass Pro Shops Pyramid. Mikey, you cutie. Hi, you. Yeah. We went to the Bass Pro Shops Pyramid. It was fucking fire. It was so good. And I got so many, I didn't talk about it, but throughout this entire trip, I got unbelievable amounts of pictures of the sky because the sky is so gorgeous. It's unreal. I got myself a souvenir. I did get myself a shirt. And then I think we kind of went out on the town. Yeah, we definitely went out on the town because we only had one night here. But I want to talk about this one. We went out on Beale Street, which, if y'all don't know, Beale Street is a very famous street known for music and drinks, and that's where... Oh, hi, Eric. Hi, hon. Thank you so much for taking your folks on tour. Hello, tourists. My name is Lilybelle. I love to travel, but I suck at geography. How was Deadlock? So Beale Street, go look it up. You guys might know it. I mean, obviously, plenty of legends, plenty of jazz and rock legends have come from there. But you know, obviously one of the more famous ones is Elvis. Elvis, you know, spent a lot of time on Beale Street, and that's where he got a lot of his music influences. Yeah, Lily's Southern today. No, I'm just kidding. Just for this part. Just for this part where I have to talk about it. You didn't go to Graceland first? Nah, we didn't even go to Graceland. Graceland just seemed like it was a large place, and none of us were just too obsessed with Elvis at all. We really wanted a little bit more of everything. So we went out to Beale Street. It was amazing. We went to the bars. I drank a lot, obviously. And then we got to meet a couple of friends. This is so funny. All right, so obviously you see a big group of younger kids. A lot of us look young. All right, so we were at the bar. A couple of us went to different bars because our group was just way too big, and it was completely fine. The bar that I went to with a couple of my friends, unfortunately, had a really creepy guy. He had a really creepy guy. Where are your parents? Nah. Not like that. Not like that young. But Eric, how was deadlock? So, a really creepy guy. The kind of guy where you watched him for 20 minutes and you realize, oh, this guy's just trying to hook up with any of these gals. And he was so funny because, you know, one of my guy friends was like laughing because for him, it was just funny to see this guy like not get, like it's like, oh wow, this guy is so pathetic, you know. He's like, obviously these girls aren't into him and he's still trying. And I had to pull him out and be like, you know, I think for you it's kind of funny and I can see why it's kind of funny, but you have to remember that for us this is A, incredibly uncomfortable, B, incredibly dangerous. Like, I know you think it's funny, but really this is shit that we have to go through all the time. And it could be any one of us right now. It's not one of us right now, but it could have been any one of us, and it wouldn't have been that funny, would it? And so he kind of took a beat. I taught him, bro. I taught him. I put him down, and he kind of took a beat. And then later he was like, okay, I get it. Yeah, that's true. You're right. You know, it's not that I needed an apology. It didn't have anything to do with me, so I didn't need an apology or something. But he was like, oh yeah, you're right. I'm just it was so funny. He was like, yeah, being some guy who's not as creepy, it looks kind of funny in a way. And I was like, all right, well now you just sound like you're like glazing yourself. All right. He was like, I didn't mean to do that, but I just, you know what I mean. And I was like, okay, yeah. But just keep it in mind. It's not that funny. You know, it's I mean, I get why it's funny, but it's not that funny. But that's fine. The band took a break, so everybody went outside. Before the band took a break, that creepy guy did come over. I was sitting by the bar. I was sitting right next to my friend, who's a guy, luckily. But the guy did come over. He put his arm around me, and he did not hit on me. He just put his arm around me, which made it way worse. And my guy friend looked straight at him, and he took it off. And I was like, okay, cool. But and for me, it's not. For me, I'm like, okay, you know, I got lucky. I didn't have to go fight him myself or any of that. You know what I mean? What did he do? He put his arm on me. He put his arm around me. And so my friend looked straight at him. And it was almost kind of like a perfect example moment, because I legitimately just looked at my friend and I said, you see that? You see that? Like, imagine you weren't here, right? Or imagine if it wasn't me. Because, you know, I'm the type of girl to really just, I don't know. That depends, I guess. But I would like to believe that I have enough of an intimidating aura, right? But I was like, you see that? And my friend was like, yeah, I get it. It was a perfect example moment. It was ridiculous. So the band took a break. We went out. We went to the next bar over so I could use a bathroom and get more drinks, because on Beale Street, you can get takeout drinks. You could just drink on the street. So they all had little to-go windows. It was so cute. So we went to get more drinks. And then we ran into people, and I suppose a couple of us started talking to them or something, because by the time I went out of by the time I finished using the restroom, there was, you know, new people around our group, and I was having to go and introduce myself. I'm not gonna get into it, but I met these people, just like a couple of people, and we were like, all right, well, they wanted to get more drinks for us. And we were like, no, it's all right, because we're gonna go up to the upstairs bar that was open until like 5 a.m. And they're like, great, we'll follow you. And we're like, oh, well, okay. So we went back to the upstairs bar. And that's where I actually did get a guy to hit on me. Not that I tried to, a guy just did hit on me. So we went to the upstairs bar. By the way, I want y'all to know, all night long, I spoke like this. And everybody knew that we were an entire group coming from California. So everybody was like, why do you talk like that? And I was like, oh, I was like, why do you have an accent? And I was like, oh, well, I didn't say I was born and raised there. I just said, oh, I lived in Florida for a bit until we went up to the upstairs bar. We went up to the upstairs bar. And I want y'all to know, at this point, people are following us. People who heard me play this, because I just been mirroring. And people have heard me now talk like this entire night. Now these friends are stuck here with us. And I'm stuck with this accent. And I just go up there. So now I'm talking to all these new people in this new bar with this fucking accent. All right? And there was one guy at the bar. He's an older gentleman. You know, we just came up there trying to get our drinks. And he was like, oh, where y'all from? Blah, 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 blah. Kind of shit like that. And he said... oh, I'm also on a road trip. I just dropped my daughter off at college. And I'm on a road trip. And I was like, oh, that's so nice. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, all right? He's an older gentleman then. He's an older gentleman then, all right? So we go over. I'm hanging out with my friends. We need... somebody else asked me about the thing where it's like, oh, you're from California. That's surprising because nobody else has the accent, but you do. And I was like, oh, lived in Florida. And he was like, so you were born in Florida? And I was like, I panicked. I fucking panicked. All right. I was like, yep, born and raised in Florida. And I moved to California. And they were like, oh, that makes sense. Y'all, I turned around and I was like, hey guys, my entire group of friends, and I pulled everybody. I was like, hey, can y'all go to the restroom with me? I pulled all of them to the restroom and I was like, I looked straight at them. And this is how you know, this is why everybody's like, going on a road trip with friends or going on a trip with friends for that long, it's dangerous because you don't know if you got the right friends. You know, maybe you'll fight, maybe y'all fight, maybe y'all won't be friends, blah, blah, blah. No, I got the right type of friends because I looked straight at them. And I said, I was born and raised in Florida now, all right, guys? Tonight, I'm born and raised in Florida with this accent. By the way, Orlando, Florida does not have this heavy of an accent. It does not have this heavy of an accent. It's not true. They do not have this heavy an accent. I just pulled that shit out of my ass, for real. I mean, whatever. Well, I'm not gonna meet these people again, I guess. Yeah, right? I looked straight at them and I was like, I'm born and raised in Orlando, Florida right now. It really doesn't. It does not make sense. It does not make sense. But whatever. You have to go to rural Florida? Yeah, whatever. Let's say my grandparents are from rural Florida. You know, let's say I lived with my grandparents in rural Florida. That's fine. I could pull more shit out of my ass. I'm an actress. I'm a fucking actress, all right? Ha ha ha, X. That's funny. I don't think I screwed up. I do not think I screwed up because I had a good fucking time and now this is free content for me. Speaking of being an actress, I told y'all I got to meet up with Sushi, right? And Sushi was with Domo. And Domo drank. Or we all drank, obviously. And Domo thought he was gonna put me on the spot. And cause Domo turned around and this is what he said. He fucking said, Texans definitely don't have accents. Yes, y'all do. Not this, but y'all do. Domo said this shit. Domo literally looked at everyone and was like, alrighty, everybody. Lilybelle's gonna do a speech for us. Joke's on you, Domo. I'm a professional actress. I've done improv a million times. Public speaking a million times, and I pulled that shit out of my ass. I immediately went, okay, guys. I looked straight at him. And I was like, oh, you want to do it like that? Perfect. When I first started being a VTuber, I was so scared of not even making friends, but being able to meet my friends. And here I am now with friends I never knew I'd meet, and even better, the friends I'd get to. Thank you so much. And I was like, I don't know, I don't remember what the speech was. But that's what I like just pulled that shit out of my ass. And it went really well. And Domo right after was like, man, I really thought that I was just putting you on the spot. And I was like, yeah, I know you were. I'm good with it. I'm good with it. Anyways, let's go back to Memphis. That was there. I was in New York for like one night, Eric. And that's where I saw Domo and Sushi. Now I'm gonna go back to Memphis. I'm at the bar, all right? So I tell all my friends, I look straight at them and I was like, I was born and raised in Orlando, Florida now, right guys? Pretty sure some of those people definitely didn't buy it, but who cares? It was, again, not like I'm about to see them again, but I didn't want to have to accept my mirroring that night, obviously. And I couldn't help it. Everybody had the accent. I'm really good at mirroring. I couldn't help it. I'm so sorry. And all of them were just like, yeah, okay. Naturally, they were like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, this is how I know. You gotta have friends like that. During NEC weekend, yeah, but I didn't go to NEC. I didn't know you went to NEC. You went to NEC? Look, I would've messaged you or something. I didn't know. I'm sorry. We're closer where we live than the both of us in NEC, so I didn't expect it. Anyways, so we went out, we left the restroom. Night goes on, we have a great time. By the way, all these people that we're hanging out with, they're not our age. All of them are like in their 50s. They all have children, and some of them have grandchildren. And all right, a couple of them, though, the people we were hanging out with, these 50-something-year-olds, offered us to go smoke weed outside, which was so nice of them. I don't smoke. My vice is alcohol, but it was really nice of them. It was funny. Yeah, old stoners rock. They do rock. So I'm trying to get more drinks for my friends. I go back to the bar, and one of the newer friends, right, this 50-something-year-old guy, he came with me, and we went back to the bar. And I stood by again, because the bar is really small. The bar itself is really small. The rest of the place is bigger, right? And I was like, oh, hey, you know, and I was like, oh, hi. And then we continued to talk just a little bit. I can't even remember what else we talked about at all. I have no idea. And then next I remember, he says, well, if you want a partner for breakfast tomorrow, here's my number. And he slid his number to me. And the other 50-something-year-old new friend that I had just made saw it. And I was like, oh, okay. Thank you. And so me and this new friend went back and he was like, hey, you still got it. And I was like, I guess I fucking do. Lily, that's your striking age, it's fine. I think 50 was 50 my upper limit. Should have been like, I'm 16. Nah, I don't need to. I wanted to get flattered. It worked. Hi there, hello. You upped it since Deadpool? Oh, did I? How old is, oh, that's Hugh Jackman age? How old is Hugh Jackman? My upper limit is whatever age Hugh Jackman is. Done. But obviously I didn't call him for breakfast the next morning, but I kept his number because he wrote it on a sticker, and I collect stickers. So I still have his number in my bag right now. Maybe I should wait. Maybe I'll I've got somebody's
yay anniversary. Less yay. Currently got to save money, so while I paid 6 in advance, I currently won't renew past that.
Don't even worry about it there. I appreciate it, sweetheart. Thank you. Happy anniversary to us. Please save money. Do not give me any money that you do not have. I don't want it at all. All right, I don't want it. Keanu's 60 though. Keanu's not my type. Hugh Jackman is up. What else I say? What else I say? Yeah, so I was just your girl got flattered, you know. I got somebody's dad's number in my fucking bag. Feels good. It's been a while since I got to pull an older gentleman's number. Last time I pulled an older gentleman's number, I was much younger. So it felt good. It felt good. Anyways, so we finished. We got a ride home. So kindly, we got a ride home from some of the local from one of the local friends that we had made. Yeah. Yeah. What else I say? Yeah. One of my friends, I had to stay up because one of my friends was drunk. She fucked up drunk. She sat by the toilet for hours. Luckily, I was already sober, so I was just chilling. I was calling my mom, doing some work, just waiting. And, at some point, I was like, all right, girl, let's go. So I had to pick her up and then like bring her to bed. Next morning, we left. Oh, I didn't even talk about, this is so funny. I didn't even talk about this part in Kentucky. I was too busy thinking about the bourbon and the accent, obviously. So Kentucky also is known for horses, like thoroughbred racing, right? Kentucky Derby. So we got to see the horses. We went out to go see Claiborne Farms, one of the most famous farms for thoroughbred horse maiden or whatever it is called. They have a shit ton of thoroughbred horses. And I want y'all to know, I got to see a horse cock. I was joking. I was legit joking. And I told everybody, I was like, I want to go there and see a horse cock. But I did. I got to see a full horse cock. It was hilarious. Oh my God. Who's a horse girl? No, I'm not a horse girl. It's a bit. A little callback, a little throwback to the first time I accidentally saw one at medieval times and I thought that shit was funny. No, it's just funny, yeah. It's a bit. But I did get to see it and that was funny as hell. By the way, on our tour where we got to see it, there were kids and the kids asked what it was. The kids asked what it was and the parents were like, it's just private parts. It's so funny. Aha, penis? Yeah, exactly. Aha, penis. There's giant penis. All right. Anyways, all right. Back to leaving Memphis. Long drive. Went from Memphis straight over. I think we passed by just to get food somewhere. But we went to, oh, I also forgot. We went to a Buc-ee's at some point. We went to a Buc-ee's in Kentucky. Nothing much to say. It was Buc-ee's. But long drive to get to Texas. So when we got to Texas, we just knocked out. The next morning, we all knocked out because a couple of us, not all of us, obviously, but a couple of us, some of the girls, including me, had planned to go to a hot spring in New Mexico. It's like a hot spring campground in New Mexico. And we were pretty excited about that. Cause it's hot springs, it'll be good for our bodies, all that shit. So we went early. No, we went early. We got to New Mexico. We set up camp. This hot spring campground has a clothing optional area. It's also, oh, I forgot to say this, by the way. We remember when I was talking about the, firewood? Yeah, plenty of states don't actually allow you to bring firewood in. Wait, we're out of the accent area already. All right, cool. New Mexico, less accent, almost zero accent. So majority of the states that we were driving through did not allow for firewood or out-of-state firewood because it could bring in other species that like could kill their forestation. So we like we weren't able to like use firewood almost at all until we went back to New Mexico. So we were in New Mexico and we set up camp. We got to have the firewood, and yes, a couple of more willing of us went by the clothing optional area, and a couple of us stayed in the clothing optional area. I camped in a clothing optional area. So I went to the... So also before I like dropped camp, and then before I went to the hot springs or anything, because it was incredibly hot, obviously, I went to go see the sunset and I cried. It was so beautiful. I had like an incredible like life-changing moment out there. Anyways, so I stayed in an clothing optional area along with 2 of my other girlfriends. We went to the clothing optional hot springs and everybody was nude. Yeah, many people older than us. But the crazy part isn't that, you know, you see nude people. If you're not, it's not awkward if you don't make it awkward, okay? And when everybody's nude, it's like, okay, you know, if you're the only one nude, it's harder, but everybody was nude. And I guess we were just chilling. It was not that weird. You should have joined them. I did. Hello? I did. I sat in the hot spring with them. I made friends. I made friends with this one other guy who's just an actual nudist. Wait, you were nude? Yeah, I was. I stayed in the clothing optional area and all the girls went nude. Lucky for them there. Yeah, did anybody actually assume that I wouldn't be part of the group that went for the clothing optional area? Just out of curiosity. I'm kidding. But yeah, we made friends with a dude there that actually is just like a nudist kind of guy. Like he wants to open like a bed and breakfast that's nude for nude people. And I was like, oh, okay, crazy. I was about to say, it's a hot spring, isn't nude the default? Yeah, bathing suits exist, you're right. You know, I went back because I was like, all right, let's just, we'll go back and then we'll go back to the hot springs later. Let's just, you know, take a little bit of a break, see the stars, shit like that. We went back, you know, it was like second to last night for us. So we were trying to like eat and drink, just to really enjoy it. We had a lot of like self-reflection because you have to remember, like, this is me and my friends in a 2.5-week trip across the United States. That's difficult to do, especially with friends. So we all kind of had like a really big reflection point, you know. Would not be cooking nude. We didn't really do anything crazy. We just boiled water. And then a guy in a truck came by and he got out of his truck. And by the way, all of us are still nude at our tent because we can be. And the guy in the truck came by and said, hey, did you guys need more firewood? And I was like, no, we're okay, thank you. But then I asked him because we had so much cup noodle left, which, by the way, Gamer Sups, shout outs to y'all. I was like, oh, we have so much cup noodles. So do you want some? And he was like, I mean, yeah, that would be nice. It would be better than like some of the leftover oatmeal I have. And I was like, oh yeah, of course. So I go over and I get like one of every flavor for him, which, by the way, I'm like holding them all against my chest, right? I'm walking. By the way, he's clothed because he's about to leave the campground, right? So he's fucking clothed. And And I'm out here just fucking looking like Eve from Adam and Eve, shoving my chest cup noodles at him, like, here. And he's like, oh my god, this is so much, are you sure? Thank you, like, well, and I was like, yeah, we have literally too much, please, thank you. And I was already like generally like, not tipsy, but like almost tipsy, like halfway to tipsy, right? So I was feeling good, and funny enough, the next morning we went back out to the hot springs for a little bit and then came back again, knocked out. And the next morning we also had drunk cup noodle. It was great. We found a couple of scary bugs and a baby snake, so it was awesome. But the next morning we're packed up. I put my clothes on now because it's like, all right, it's time to pack up and leave and go. Okay, the guy comes back. The guy in the truck pulls up, but this time I'm clothed and he's in the nude. And he comes out and he's like, hey, just wanted to say thank you for the cup noodles yesterday. They were so delicious. And I was like, yep. So I thought it was just kind of like a funny trade-off, yeah. Did he give you cup noodles this time? No, he gave me something much better. Just kidding. I'm fucking kidding.
Sheesh, that guy got gamer subs delivered to him by a hot girl in the nude face. That's the dream.
Oh god. So yes, I went to a nude hot springs area, clothing optional hot springs area. Had a great time with me and my girlies and a couple of new dudes, I guess. Was the guys? No. No. Oh my god. Gave away some cup noodles. I still have plenty of cup noodles and snacks, dude. Seriously, we ate so much during our trip that like we didn't even end up eating majority of the snacks. It was like, oh geez. I was trying to get rid of my fucking, all these snacks that I just had randomly at my house, but we didn't. That's okay. Yeah. Went to Arizona. Stayed. It was supposed to be my last meal, right? And I was supposed to, like, once I get back, I go back on my diet. So I got myself nachos. I couldn't get Tex-Mex nachos in Texas because we got there so late, but I was like, I'm gonna get myself nachos here, and they were pretty good. They're pretty good. But I didn't really want to do anything at this point now. Like, I've been out for like 2.5 weeks. I've gone through intense nights of drinking and hanging out with people. I've gone to buttfuck nowhere, West Virginia, all the way to the middle of New York City, like next to Times Square. My body has experienced a lot now. I've met people who think I have a Southern accent. I've not kissed anyone. But I did, go in the nude in front of strangers. So, yeah, I was just like, you know what? I'm done. I'm good. So I just went back to my room early afterwards and fucking played my game. I was like, I'm gonna play fucking Honkai Star Rail now, okay? I'm tired. The next morning, we left. We got lunch. Oh no, the next morning I totally almost forgot. We visited this architectural place that I totally forgot what the name of is, by the way. Taliesin West, by a famous architect, because a couple of us liked, interior design sort of, and design and shit, and then, one of us is an actual architect, so he wanted to go. Yeah. What else? Yeah, so after that, I actually had researched. I don't know if you talked about it yet, but whose idea? No, I'll talk about it. I've not talked about it yet. Yeah. I'll talk about it. Anyways, I had read about the fact that in Arizona, for my research, I really did try to look up like each state's specialty food. And in Arizona, there's this thing called fry bread. And I didn't know, but it's like a Native American thing. Or an indigenous thing. So, but it was like a Sunday or something. So every place was closed except one. So we went to that place. It's called the Fry Bread Lounge. They had alcohol. I just got wine. No more. I didn't want any hard liquor for a bit. Okay. So just got wine, and and they were like, this is all like indigenous food. You know, it's fresh farm to table. So there was no beef. There was only bison, venison, and duck. And they had a charcuterie board of literally just bison, venison, and duck, and like fry bread and shit. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is when I realized that like a lot of us are so close and alike, because the fry bread actually is kind of almost exactly like a bread that we have in my culture and my like nearby cultures. But I really enjoyed it. I had a great time. Had like a cactus dip and like some other type of dip that almost kind of was like a hummus, but wasn't. Had Arizona wine for the first time, because we didn't drink wine majority of the time. All of us were like, we're from California. So like some of us are actually from like wine country, or lives there. So we were like, nah, no need. But I wanted to try Arizona wine, so I did it. And then afterwards we went to the nearby indigenous, the nearby like jewelry store or like arts and crafts market. And it had a bunch of jewelry in there. And I actually got myself a handmade like silver ring, because I love wearing rings. But yeah, I just love wearing rings. It was kind of pricey, but you know, for handmade local indigenous people art, like it was really great to. The food was so great. The food was delicious, dude. Literally, the bison steak was like to die for, okay? And so I loved it. And it made me really, really happy to be able to actually support local small businesses and businesses of indigenous people throughout this trip. I think that was like a huge thing for me as well, like one of the highlights of my trip right at the very end. So it's really, yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I got home and my mom was like, oh, where are you guys going now? And I was like, we're still in Arizona. I totally lied to my mom. I wanted the extra night of just being home. So yeah, I lied to my mom, and then and then the day after, I was like, okay, now I'll see you guys. You know what I mean? It was a lot. It was a lot. So, and here we are. I took a couple of days rest. I got to work on a couple of things. Notice Hamilton is like a third done. It was just, I still need to do more listening and doing notes and editing on EXO side, but it's kind of hard when you're consistently like I spent like a month recording everything, learning every part and recording everything, and now I have to spend another month listening to myself over and over again and do edits. So it's really difficult, you guys. But a lot of it is done. I'm really excited about a lot of it. I'm back here. I was supposed to stream way earlier, like a couple of days ago. But you know, I had family. I would wake up early, like later, and I wanted to give myself a lot of grace and my body a lot of like physical grace, without a lot of expectation, you know, just because I didn't want to overwork myself almost immediately. Thank you. Thank you. And swimsuit pics are coming at some point, probably, maybe. I did take swimsuit pictures, not like, this was the funny part, right? I just wore my swim dress out. Yeah, I just wore my swim dress out. And I took pictures in the middle of the road. So, if I deem them to look great, then you'll get them. Cause I had my friend take them, so I still have to get it from my friend. If I deem them to look great, then you'll get them. If I deem them not to look great, then I'll have to retake them later. Can mods review? No. Axel, why the fuck do you want to review? Thank you, universe, for the welcome backs. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. So as you can tell, I had a very interesting trip. Yep, got to experience a little bit of everything. Now let's talk about that tweet. Let's talk about the Domo, not gonna lie, leftover dim sum in New York City at 1 a.m. slaps tweet. It was Domo's idea. That is my voice moaning. I will say nothing else. There's nothing else I will say about that. Cool. Nice. We did it. Awesome. And that was my trip. Yeah, now that I'm back, I have to clean up after everything. Oh my God, I have one other good news, you guys. I have one other really good news, you guys. Seriously. Yeah, I will also admit I was not acting. I have one other good news. One other good news. I don't know how to, yeah, I'll stop there. I'll stop there. I won't say anything else. So, okay, one other good news. One other good news. Okay. One other good news. I came back and my doctors were calling me to make appointments. And I was like, you guys, are you sure I can? Like, have you checked with the billing situation? Because if you guys didn't remember, a couple of months ago, I was told that that insurance was gonna be taken away from me because I was getting like food stamps and shit. And it was like $20 over the amount, legal limit that I could have with government insurance. So, and that was like a really big worry with me. But my doctors were like, no, we literally just billed them yesterday. It seems like everything's fine. So I was like, whoa, 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 hold on. And this was both my actual like physical doctor, my overall doctor, right? Primary care doctor, and my psychiatrist. So it seems like maybe I didn't get it taken away. Now I think I need a call just to make sure, right? But I think I still have my insurance, you guys. Woo! Yeah! Woo! Crazy shit! Hold on, let's hear this. Okay, I'm good. Anyways. The stream isn't staying up, I think. It's fine. What? It's fine. Nothing's wrong with it. That was a nice solo performance in that tweet. It was not a solo performance. I did not act. I did not act. It was not a solo performance. There was somebody there. And it was Domo's idea. Real universe, understandable. But obviously, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna guess it was Gucci. All right, you do your guessing. Now I gotta do something before I go to work. Have fun, Bento. I hope you have a wonderful jacking off to the sound of my voice. How my boy Steve? Steve is doing great. He's fine. He's picky. I missed him. I gave him treats and his little treat thing, and he didn't want to because where he stayed with my aunt, she was feeding him better. Odd. Yeah, Mitsuki. Yeah. He's like, I want to go back. I know, really fucked up of him. Anyways. Yeah, one other thing also, during my trip, everybody and their mother had messaged me about the Chris Chan security cam footage release. Yes, we will be doing live reaction to it. Hold on, I need to see what time my dinner is. Okay. Oh, right. We went out for, this isn't during the trip, but I seem to be currently picking up a lot of older gentlemen. We went out for my family member's birthday, to a bar, like a local bar. I've never heard of it. It was a local bar with only like 4 seats and a bar top, and like, it was a, what is it called? It was a pool bar, right? And so I zoomed to the table that was available, and there was a guy there playing pool, and he was really good. One of those type of guys that like had a glove on and everything. So I was watching him while, you know, the other people were grabbing drinks, because I wanted to, you know, I was like, here, I'll stay here for the table. And when he made, I started noticing that when he made his goals, he would turn at me and wink. And I was like, oh. No, it's the arrest video. And I was like, oh, well, maybe he's just having a good time. Yeah, maybe he's just having a good time, you know? And we stayed for a while, and I most definitely drank. Per usual. I talked about this. I talked about this with one of my friends. I'm not really good at drinking in moderation. And I'll be honest with it. I do have to work on that. It's one of my vices. I have more confidence, not drinking than to drink in moderation. I'd rather not, if you don't want me to drink a lot, don't let me drink. I would rather not. I've gone months without drinking. Like, I've gone full months without drinking. But if you have me drink, I'm not gonna be a little pussy about it, and I'm gonna enjoy myself. So, yeah. So you know, we were there for a while. We didn't close it out. We went to the, you know, I went to the restroom like a couple times by now because I drank a lot. And one of the times I came back, and he pulls me in. Like, he was sitting nearby, and he pulls me in, and he was like, you know, so he was like, so what do I have to do to see you again, girl? And I was like, oh. And I was like, oh, no, I'm good. Thank you. No, he's from this was in California already. I was like, oh, stop it. You're so funny. That type of deal. Because I'm that kind of person, right? I'm not an ew, get away from me person. I'm very, stop it. Good one. And he was like, no, really? Are you here with one of them? And he points over to my group of my family members and a couple of their friends. And I'm so lucky that he's not that old looking. His name is maybe like mid 40s. Yeah. I realize that now. I should be considering that older, but that's fine. I'm so lucky that I literally just bought a ring on my finger, right? Because I didn't bring any of my rings. I do this often. I'll usually wear rings on my fingers if I go anywhere alone to make sure that nobody fucks me over. Do you know what I mean? But I didn't bring any of my rings when I went on my trip, and I just haven't been wearing them because, you know, I just got back from my trip. On my trip, I was, you know, with friends, and I was camping. I didn't want to get any of them dirty, blah, blah. But I had literally just bought this one ring from Arizona, and I was still wearing it. And I put up my hand, and I was like, yeah, I'm sorry. I am with one of them. And he was like, oh, okay, alrighty. And he let me go. So if you ever see me with a ring on my finger, you know why, okay? By the way, I'm not the only person that does this. A lot of girls do this. Yeah. No, you say at least he gave up. So he did. But then soon after, we were like, all right, we should go. We're generally getting plastered now, all right? So we go, And he's like, he also leaves. I think maybe, oh no, what am I even saying? It's not even because of that. We closed them out. They were like, all right, this is the last call. And we were like, okay, shit. We closed them out. I remember now. And so we're all leaving. And so I leave and I pass by his car and I look, I'm just like passing by his car and I see him in his car and he winks at me again. And I was like, okay. And so I wave back goodbye and then I leave. It probably didn't help that, like, because none of the days, like majority of the days that I was on my trip, I didn't get to dress up. So when I came back, I was like, oh, here's like a family birthday. Maybe I'll dress up. I'll put on some makeup. I'll wear some earrings. You know, I bought new earrings in New York. I'll put on my earrings. I'll wear like a nice sundress because it's hot outside. So I wore a nice flowy sundress. And I should have known because it's fucking sundress season. Hi, Twitchy. Thank you. I'm impressed with the goal, but honestly, you fumbled already, man. Give it up. It's like, I'll give it to him. He really went out there for his thing, you know. But yeah, that was my trip. Is it weird that I worry about you in my life? Like, worry about me? How? Bye, Eric. Have a good dinner, hon. Bye, 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 bye. Like all these older guys getting handsy. No, it's not weird that you worry about me. I appreciate that you guys would be worried about me if other people were trying to get handsy with me. Sounds like a whole lot of getting hit on and almost getting robbed. Wait, hold on. I only got hit on once, okay, during my trip. And one time almost getting robbed, yeah. But yeah. Have a good pee crash. What I come in on? Psh. Anyways, yeah, I came back. I gave myself some time. I started playing Pokemon Unite a little bit. I'm just resting. I have to unpack properly because everything is kind of just strewn about in my room right now. I have to clean it. I wanted to redo my room so that it was like prettier, and I kind of just, yeah, I've been chilling, right? But I'm slowly getting back into work. You know, we have a couple of things planned this month. Please expect Baldur's Gate and hopefully the end of Baldur's Gate. And then after that, please expect Final Fantasy. Yeah, and a bit of drinking. Can't forget that. Nope, a lot of drinking. Absolutely a lot of drinking. I will be trying to stream during the day again at 10 a.m. PT again. It'll be hard, but I'm trying to do that. Let's see, what other stuff? I have to start going back to plasma. I'll tell you go. Willie, before you go, want to announce what is happening tomorrow? Yes, give me 1 second. Yeah, expect a couple of announcements throughout this month. Let's see. Just, yeah, I'm taking it step by step. Hamilton will come out this month for sure. I promise. Thank you very much to Antonio and Axel and EXO for all helping me with this project. Hamilton will come out this month for sure. Swimsuit photos will probably come out this month for sure. Swimsuit photos will come out this month for sure. Some Baldur's Gate and some Final Fantasy. And tomorrow, before any of you guys leave, okay? Let's talk about this. Before any of you guys leave, before everybody leaves, I'm not ending right now. How many boyfriends you got? I've got 5 ex-husbands. Boyfriends right now, maybe like half each? Halves all together. Sorry, chat, how many of you guys are half? 5? Oh, sorry. I meant 4. We definitely did not bury any bodies out in the middle of the desert when we were driving through our trip. Anyways, yeah, that's congrats on the life insurance. Thank you. I mean, no, congrats. How could you say that? How could you say that? I mean, she got called baby girl on her trip. No, I got called baby girl at my friend's, or at my family member's birthday. You know, it's one of those people that's like, your parents are close with their friends, so it's almost like that person is your cousin, but they're not really your cousin, but you basically just use them as a cousin. You know what I mean? Anyways. Okay. Yes, so first things first, I will be ending here, but I will be going over to YouTube and watching the Chris Chan security body cam footage watch along. I will also be announcing there what day I will be doing the YouTube membership stream this month. Now, after this. But the more important part is tomorrow. Tomorrow we have a date, you guys. We're going on a Universal Studios Halloween Horror Night date, and we're gonna be doing maze watch-alongs because, get this, because, okay, tomorrow I've been told I'll be on Twitch's front page. Woo, 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 woo. Yeah. Crash said my birthday's a week from today and I'm apparently going to a zoo this week. Don't know when and how, don't know how long. Just letting you know in case I'm not here. Oh, okay, thanks Crash. Thanks, honey. Have a great time at the zoo. I haven't been to a zoo in a while. I kind of want to go back. Have a good birthday. Remind me so I can sing for you. Yes, I've been told, I've been emailed, so if you don't see me on front page tomorrow, let me know so I can email them back and say you guys lied. You turned 36. Help. Good number. Yes, tomorrow I'm supposed to be in front page and we'll be going on a cute little Halloween Horror Nights maze date because, believe it or not, Halloween Horror Nights started August 31st and ends November 1st. It's insane how early they start now, but you know me, I love the Halloween Horror Night mazes and I can't wait for our amusement park date. Alrighty, that said, I thought I was gonna go way longer, but I'm glad, you know, I got shit through, you know what I mean? Again, expect this month, expect announcements, Baldur's Gate, Final Fantasy, Hamilton, and swimsuit photos. So, can you set up the room before ending? Yeah, I'll set up the room. Very smart. I keep forgetting for me to set up the room. I always forget to set up rooms, dude. A lot happening? There's always a lot happening with me. I'm just like that. I'm a workaholic, and I've accepted it this time. What is it called? Chris Chan body cam footage watch along. There we go. Okay. Let's add a redirect. Nope. That's not a redirect. Never mind. It is not 4:20. It'll probably be like 4:30 p.m. Today's the 8th. Done. She busy lady? Yeah, I've got issues. Oh, you almost forgot. That's okay. Here you go, hun. And then the room is set up. Should be set up now. So, Axel, can you go ahead and drop the link, please? And here's your general tarot card. General tarot. General tarot. Yeah, open that bitch up right now, okay? 3 of Cups in reverse. All right, 3 of Cups in reverse. General keywords: overindulgence, gossiping, lack of social life, lack of friends, cancel celebrations, gossiping, bitchiness, broken engagements, termination. In a general context, it can indicate like canceled parties, canceled weddings, or engagements being broken off. Can signify that your social life is not doing really great. Maybe you've grown apart from your friends. Can include maybe backstabbing or bitchiness. People could be nasty or gossiping about you behind your back. Maybe doing rumors or sabotaging. Well, just be careful who you trust. Yeah. Be careful who you trust and be careful of the parties you go to. Yeah. That doesn't make sense. I've been hanging out with the IRLs all the time while you were gone. Okay, so my question is this, what if, all right? What if, while you were hanging out with the IRLs, the onliners were like, where the fuck is I'm? You know? What if? What if they're like, oh my god, Im's not hanging out. Im's not hanging out anymore. Jay, listen, I don't know. I'm not there. Oh. I'm so sorry, I'm. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm glad he's okay. Yeah, okay, great. I'll see you guys over there by the YouTube room. I will go and inhale something real quick so I'm not so hungry. But my name is Lilybelle. I love to travel, but I suck at geography. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 10 a.m. PT. Hopefully, I will be trying to get back into the schedule since tomorrow's what, Monday already, right? Monday? Yeah. And yeah, I love you guys. I'm so happy to be back. I hope you guys missed me. I missed you guys lots. I still have pictures of Chat Bear, so please look forward to those. Thank you for flying with Lilybelle Air. Whoa, hold on. See, this is how much I've forgotten. This is how much I've forgotten here. I forgot I was supposed to raid someone. Oh, you're right. No raid. No raid. Because you guys have to come see me on YouTube. I'm a dummy. No raid. We're raiding the YouTube, all right? Go check out my YouTube right now. We're doing a Chris Chan watch along. Yes. Okay. My name is Lilybelle. I love to travel, but I suck at geography. Thank you for flying with Lilybelle Air. Bye-bye now.